time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
I've seen it, Mr. Wayne. He thinks he's above the law.
Mercy!
No one stays good in this world.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Riley Reviews, back again with another video, and today maybe my most exciting review yet, because this is one of my most anticipated figures ever, and that is none other than the GOAT himself, Henry Cavill's Superman by INART Collectibles. This is an exciting piece for me to open. Henry Cavill's Superman is easily one of my favorite characters of all time, so believe me when I say I am eager to open this box and find out how it turned out. But before we do that, I want to give a massive shout out to 16kit for shipping me this figure. Make sure to check out his link in the description below if you want to buy and purchase INART figures. Now, I want to see y'all go crazy on this video because I know you're as excited as I am to see how this figure turned out. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, bang that bell notification. We're actually 200 subs off of 15k, so that'd be really cool if I got that. Anyways, spam up the let's goes in the comments below because Henry Cavill fans, y'all better show up. And let's find out how this figure turned out. Let's go. Now, when first opening up the slit, you can see here it has the iconic BVS logo with soup sitting inside, and ooh, baby, I want to tear that wrapping paper up to pieces. But similar to every INART release, their figure presentation is top-notch. And something that I wanted to let the entire world be known while I'm opening this, yes, you do not have to assemble anything with this INART figure. Took a damn near 3 years, but we have finally had a figure where you can open the packaging, throw it on your shelf or toilet, and call it a damn day. And first impressions are absolutely incredible. Look at how good this looks. Do I sound like a loser? Probably yes, but I don't care. This is absolutely phenomenal. Figure definitely holds some heft to it, which I like, but let's move on to the articulation. Now, you know I couldn't wait to get my hands on this Henry Cavill figure for research purposes, of course, but I can safely say the articulation for the most part is a non-issue. You can see here when moving the head down, you can't really force it down as much, to be honest. You can have it look up pretty decently good, but yeah, when looking down, it has that limitation, which isn't a deal breaker, but I just wanted to let it be known. The arms and elbows, though, let me tell you, that double bend is insane. You can have it, like, straight up right to the middle of his chest. It's kind of wild. I think for the most part, the articulation with INART is, like, never an issue. Oh my sweet Jesus. The things I do for you people. No, I'm joking, you guys. You can bend it that far. Or maybe you shouldn't. Honestly, don't ever do that. But nothing broke. It can just kind of pop out, I guess. But yeah, nothing happened. He's got some thunder thighs, though, so you can't really move the legs super far up. I will let that be known, but you don't really need him to, like, full on have his leg up to his chest. He's totally fine where he's at. He just needs to be able to have that flying pose, of course. Now, you'd think the chrome underbody around this figure would limit the articulation around the abdomen, but no, absolutely not. You can move him super far to the left and right, and also crunch his chest significantly forward. I know there was some people in some forums saying the articulation for this figure is bad or something. I have no any type of con really other than the head articulation. Everything is perfect. You know what? Scratch that. Everything isn't perfect, and it has to deal with these hand pegs, which I'm going to talk about and give my full constructive criticism in a bit. But I noticed when moving the articulation, the suit feels very flexible. You can move this thing around. It's obviously all fabric or some type of material like that. So just be mindful, especially when posing around the elbows, that the suit isn't bunching up. You can kind of fix it and mess it with it and make it look as flush as possible. But I know people right now are screaming at the screen to get a close-up of the sculpt. Don't worry, we're about to get into that after showcasing these insane accessories that are very simple, but to be honest, I'm relieved. Sometimes INART figures have just too many things and I start to lose track. This figure particularly doesn't really need much at all, so I'm kind of glad that it's got this nice and clean presentation. But okay, fine. We'll jump into the sculpts. Relax, guys. Here is the man himself, Henry Cavill. And may I just say, we're gonna go into some zoom-ins in just a second, but this looks beautiful. I love both of these sculpts. You can see the rooted hair is also sitting there. That was an idea by Justin's collection, so shout out to him. It really likes to lay where it specifically is, which I don't mind at all, to be honest. I will be doing close-ups of both sculpts after the articulation portion, so if you want to skip to that, go for it. But we're gonna go through everything else, which are also these hands, which are really nicely detailed. When I reviewed Harry Potter, I thought it was a little lacking in paint apps, but I can say for this one, that is a non-issue. You also get by far my favorite accessory of the bunch, which is the BVS Batman mask, so you can recreate this scene in the Nightmare universe. But the dynamic duo of this accessory is the magnet hand that attaches to the mask. That way you can have Superman do some badass poses, which you will see later. Now, hopefully this is a hint at a BVS Batman that can definitely happen in the future. To think of having a trinity of these INART figures would be a dream come true for a BVS fan such as myself, and plenty out there. The amount of times I see people comment, BVS Batman, we need BVS Batman. Hopefully that'll happen, but we have the Kryptonite Rock. Now, it may look a little dull here, but in the right lighting, it definitely has that glowy green effect. The same can be said for the spear, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure why both of these didn't have a LED light up. It seems like INART does that a lot with their releases. I know Batman, Harry Potter particularly have light ups, but to be fair, it's not really a necessity since it does kind of glow in the light anyways, so you don't really need it. Now, what some may call horrifying accessories, photos of Clark Kent's mother being held hostage. Martha. Let's not say Martha, the BVS haters might kill me. But yeah, these photos look like actual 6-scale Polaroids, which is kind of crazy. But you can recreate some really great poses with Superman of him absolutely crashing out over his mother. You also get the kryptonite smoke grenade that Batman uses on Superman, which is not die-cast surprisingly. But let's move on to the actual base for Superman, which is obviously an important feature. I think this is really solid, to be honest, but I can't help but feel that I wanted more out of this. I feel like it is a little maybe too simplistic and bland, but that's just me personally. I just think that we could have gotten a lot more with this movie. Have a whole setup with Doomsday maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that's just my personal take. Not to say that it's bad by any means, but I feel like with every other INART base, I was a little bit more impressed. Like this was just like, yeah, it's cool, it's there. And also this is the holder to block the flight pole, and I feel like it kind of sticks out a bit like a sore thumb. That was my first impression. I would have preferred just one little tiny block on the back to block the flight pole rather than this bigger piece that kind of sticks out. Still a solid base. The pipes around these sides can also be bent, which is cool. And here is the clear flight pole. That way you can finally have his Superman flying and make it look as flush and clean as possible. But not only did INART include the draped cape, but they included this big ass wired cape, and I am so thankful that we got both. It is a necessity for companies to offer a drape and wired version because it offers so much versatility, and I am so glad that with this Superman, it included both. I can't say the same for the Goat Man, but it is what it is. Here's also the goodie bag of the instructions and the card it comes with, but I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get to the figure. Now, I don't want to be a little over dramatic, but oh my god! I quite literally was jumping around my room once I got this figure in the light box and got some close-up shots because the likeness is absolutely insane to Henry Cavill. I don't know how some people don't see it, but to me, it looks like BVS Superman. And from what I remember, the prototype looked like almost identical to this, and that's been sort of a constant commotion with INART is if they can match their insane prototypes to their finals, but safe to say to me, from proto to final, this one, I don't think downgraded like maybe a couple percentages. Like this is extremely close to what we saw from the proto. You can even see from even different angles, I still see the likeness. But perhaps I'm being a BVS coping fanboy right now, but to me, I just think that they really nailed the proto to final, and I am just over the moon with this sculpt. Now, this is kind of strange. I feel like people who saw the prototype initially said they liked and preferred the angry sculpt far better, but now that people are getting the final, it's switched to the opposite end, because I'm in agreement that I think this is amazing as well, but I prefer the neutral sculpt. I think that this one is just maybe too over dramatic and drastic. I understand, obviously, it's BVS Soups and he's pissed off, but I feel like it might just be a little tad too angry looking. But you do also get the rooted curl with this specific one, and you don't get that with the other. But let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested to see which sculpt you prefer, and if you had this figure, which sculpt would you have in your display? I just think it's more personal preference, honestly. Like, the likeness is still the same on both to me, but I just personally want that stoic and normal look with Superman. And here is just the proportions and tailoring of this piece. And again, I probably sound like a broken record, but these are like some of my favorite things about INART. The proportions and tailoring just look very realistic, and as I've said before, it feels like you're buying a statue rather than a figure. Okay, now it's time to get serious, because as Superman has said, no one stays good in this world. And that is exactly what happened when I was exchanging these hands on the wrist pegs. The wrist pegs are so loose, you guys. You can see it right here. You can move it almost with your pinky, and that is not how a wrist peg should be functioned. To double down on the frustration, there is no magnets on these pegs, which is fine, but the issue is that the peg is huge and it just doesn't fit in with the hands. And to triple down, this figure is fabric and very flexible, so when you're trying to grip the figure, your hands are sliding because the material is moving with you. And before I get comments on it, yes, I know you can use a heat gun or blow dryer, which is what I used, and it did alleviate some of the issues, but come on, guys, this is a $400 to $500 figure. I think that this is not something that we should have to do. And I really hope INART listens to this feedback, because me and tons out there have addressed it. So hopefully in the next future releases, or maybe even this one in their next batches, they can do something about it, because from what I've gotten and others out there, they're facing the same problem. Now let's move on to exchanging the capes, and I wanted to showcase how it looks without either of them, and it's kind of clean. I just wanted to showcase that really quick. Kind of seems to look something, incomplete, but it still looks cool. It's giving Black Adam. You can also get a glimpse of that chrome underbody, similar thing to what Hot Toys did, and I'm glad that they included it here. And I am so happy to say the assembly of the cape is so simple and so easy. You're literally just plugging it into an empty hole and you are set to go. And I am just so glad that the assembly-wise, apart from the hands, are absolutely simple and easy with this figure. I'm also quickly showing how you can take off that topper and just push in the dynamic pull. And a genius move by INART is allowing a hole into the figure to where you can insert the pole. Again, nice and easy, no stress at all, and you will be totally fine with this. It's just insane how long it took for a company to achieve this, and I am so glad. I did have the original Hot Toy, and I always had to get paper clips and find solutions, but it is so nice that in 2024, we can have a free-standing, free-flying Superman. Superman actually flying flushly. Yes, I kind of sound like a crazy person, but I have been wanting to have this type of display for ages. So INART, take a bow. Thank you so much for achieving this, and for collectors out there who are fans of Superman. The only real downside is that you can't have Superman flying forward with this mechanic, because it is obviously attached to his back, so he's only going to be able to fly upright. And I think this is the first time ever where I've gotten a figure of a superhero where I've loved both capes. There is no need to go custom here to buy a separate one, a separate wired, a separate drape. Literally both do the job perfectly. 90% of Hot Toys capes are garbage, if I'm being honest, and INART's the Batman one really wasn't that ideal. So the fact that we have this Superman one that is pretty much perfect in my eyes is such a damn relief. This figure is yet again a work of art, and I know I say that often with INART, but I just have to be honest. I don't understand why people have to say, why are you shilling? Why are you doing this? Like, it's because literally most, if not all of their figures have been bangers. Don't get me wrong, communication, shipping, that stuff, I totally understand. But quality and the figure-wise, I don't see why I wouldn't be over the moon over every release. And I do want to address the inaccuracies with the suit, because this has been an issue to a lot of people seeing the final release product. For me though, you know me, I am one to be critical over inaccuracies. The Kryptonian glyphs around his biceps should be higher. I've known that. I don't know if there's multiple issues, but I know that's one of the most important to people. Me though, personally, I don't know if it's because I'm biased or not, but I feel like a lot of these are very minute, and I just don't really mind as much if they're not there. I'm looking at you, Gandalf Pant Prince. But in general, like I said, when it's not something like super prominent, but don't get me wrong, speak your mind on it, because INART is based off accuracy, so it is completely valid to have those criticisms. But just for me, they're not that big of a deal for this figure personally. And as you can clearly see, bro did not skip back day. But let's move on to some more poses. As mentioned before, everything was perfect other than those hands. I genuinely think that's my only critique for this figure, and it's so brutal because I think this would have been perfect and probably INART's best release ever if it wasn't for that. I'm not gonna lie though, Aragorn did set the bar pretty high, but I don't know if it's my biases, but I can't get over how good this figure turned out. The final product compared to the prototype is extremely close. The sculpts are both amazing. Articulation other than the head movement downward is perfect. If you're a Superman fan, you will get this figure, and I am guaranteeing you won't be disappointed. Unless attaching hands on wrist pegs gives you migraines. Then you'll have a problem. I really do hope INART can speed up on production on releases and announcements, because there's a lot of stuff that they can get out of the pipeline for DC, and it seems like they've been very, very slow in that department. I'm ready for the I'll get this in 2030 comments to roll through this video, but again, I do want to be honest, it is very frustrating in all seriousness. I do want to clarify though, INART did tell me that this isn't an influencer batch, this is actually just a first batch being sent out to the public. Now I can't confirm if other people have gotten invoiced, but I have seen people comment saying they got invoiced from their official site, so that tells me that people who ordered directly from INART are at least getting invoiced, which I imagine are Australian collectors since this was licensed there. And I don't know if you caught it, but I was using Mysterio's accessories there to kind of replicate some Kryptonian smoke. And this is without a doubt the ultimate BVS Superman figure. And this figure review meant a great deal to me personally because I am just such a major fan of this character and IP. Ever since I saw him in Man of Steel, I fell in love with the character, and I'm just so honored to be able to review this figure, and it wouldn't be possible without any of you guys watching and supporting the channel. So thank you so much. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Did I make you Superman and DC fans proud? Take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.